Hi everyone, my name is Anita Ladhani. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and an energy practitioner. And today I want to talk about my mental breakdown that I had last week. This is hard to talk about because it's very personal, but I feel that it's important to talk about because people have a perception that, life for me should be easy, or that, life for other people is fine, and people who appear to have it together don't necessarily have so-called mental breakdowns. And I very much had a mental breakdown last week. What caused it? Well, I don't particularly know for sure. It wasn't any one particular thing, but I think it was a combination of a whole bunch of small things that added up, and it just got to the point where I lost it, completely lost it. So let's break that down. So I think it was, getting into, a sort of a disagreement with a dear friend of mine. I was kind of upset about that. The retreat, I'd signed up for that, but that was not coming together as quickly as I wanted it to be. And then, I deal with some pretty heavy stuff on a day-to-day basis. And if I don't do the work in terms of, journaling, meditating, praying, grounding, it adds up. And it added up. And I literally just woke up feeling heavy, I didn't feel good. I felt depressed. And I know what depression is because I lived with depression for 20 plus years, until probably 2 years ago. I was on and off medication, antidepressants, and I swore by them. But, I say on and off because just like everyone else, even though I am a professional in the field, I still resisted taking medication to address my depression because at that point, I still viewed it as a weakness of some sort. I shouldn't have to take a pill to make me feel better. I should be able to snap out of it. Or my friends and family would say, what do you have to be, depressed about? Your life is so amazing. You have everything, in life to make you happy. But having everything in life had nothing to do with my depression. My depression was a result of my life's trauma, from the sexual abuse, from the divorce, from just life kicking my ass, which happens. And it's not that I didn't have support. I mean, I have the most amazing family support and friend support. But it still happened. It's a chemical imbalance. And I took the meds, and the meds were incredible, and they kept me going. But because I had so much shame around taking the meds, I would stop taking the meds, and I would slip back down into depression. And so that's why I was on and off meds. And finally, I was able to get off meds when I started the energy work a couple of years ago. But none of that helped me last week when I just pretty much woke up feeling depressed. And for me, depression comes in different ways. Some people have depression with anxiety where they get really panicky, they worry, they constantly think, they can't slow down, they can't sleep, they can't stop worrying about, what happened, what they said, what they should have said, or they can't stop worrying about what's coming up, or just replay scenarios in their mind. That's anxiety. Thank God I don't have that. I don't have anxiety, depression. The depression that I've experienced has just been depression, where it's just like my bones hurt. It's exhausting to get out of bed. All I want to do is just get in bed and pull the covers in and just go to sleep and not wake up. I don't want to deal with anything. That's depression. But, when I'm functioning, what I realize now is that it's been building because the way it slowly sneaks up on you is, you stop wanting to take a shower. You stop wanting to get dressed. You lose interest in things that normally brought you pleasure. You stop listening to your favorite music, or you start to isolate from people. I was doing all those things to a certain degree. And then when last week, I didn't feel good. So I actually know a little better. So I did that, but then I said, I reached out to friends, and I had friends come over and hang out. I went to family, surrounded myself with family, you know, went to, you know, to service, and surrounded myself, you know, with prayer. But it was just like this one afternoon where I had no, and I didn't even know why I was upset. You know, I was just depressed. I mean, there's no other way to call it. I felt yuck. I felt heavy. And I remember just, you know, going to be with my family, and my family members said, "Are you okay?" And that's all they had to ask. And I just started crying, and they're like, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" And I didn't know what was wrong. I had no idea what was wrong. I just knew that I didn't feel good. And I also was questioning, you know, what is the purpose of my life? Why am I here? Blah, blah, blah. And I know my dear family member said, "You, out of all people, have a very clear purpose in life." But I looked at her and I just went, yeah, right. Because it was completely dark for me at that point. And I left there, and, you know, instead of coming home, I had to go to Michael's to pick up something. I drove by a Hooters, and I said, okay, Hooters sounds like a great idea. Now remember, I try not to drink. I usually don't drink alcohol. I'm a vegetarian, or I was, because I fell off the wagon. But that day, last week I walked into Hooters. I wanted something to drink, and I couldn't just order a glass of sangria, which is, you know, what I like. So I had to order a pitcher. Fine. Ordered the damn pitcher, ordered the 10 breaded, you know, wings, which again, I was a vegetarian. I haven't had chicken in 2 years or meat in 2 years. Ordered the shrimp, ordered the fries with the cheese sauce and the ranch dressing. And I had a couple of glasses. I drank maybe like, you know, half of that pitcher of, you know, because it was mostly ice. Drank it, ate the cheese sauce, had the fries, had the chicken wings, just tried to just feel better, medicate with food, numb myself with food, because it was just like I just needed to stop feeling what I was feeling. And then if that wasn't enough, you know, got in the car, drove home. On the way home, Krispy Kreme donuts, the light was on, and I don't even freaking like donuts. But I pulled into Krispy Kreme, ordered those dozen donuts, had 2 of them, and really was just nauseous on the way home. And got home, and then just put the food away, leftovers away, and got in bed and watched Netflix and went to bed. Pretty shitty feeling, okay? But welcome to depression. Welcome to just life kicking your ass. Woke up the next morning thinking, okay, fresh morning. Nope, it was right there. Because again, this stuff doesn't go away. You know, you can't just pretend like things aren't bothering you or things aren't real. We have to deal with this stuff. And if we don't deal with this stuff, which is what we tend to do, we tend to just medicate, we tend to put blinders on, we tend to just go through life, you know, pretending like it's just going to go away. I'm just going to ignore like it's not there, but the shit doesn't go away. It's there. So the next morning I woke up and I was right there. So I had to drag myself out of work, literally like my bones hurt. Got out of bed, got in the car, got to work, you know, and it was so funny because, you know, that morning it was like, and I get to work in noon. I work from 12 to 10:30 in the hospital. So the parking lot, if you ever work in a hospital, it's a pretty long, you know, distance. So I'm parked all the way on the 7th floor, and I get to the main entrance and I realize I forgot my badge in the car. Oh my God. Now I've done that before. We all do that, right? That day, that's all it took. I literally started bawling because, now mind you, I have my little backpack, I have my lunch bag, and it's not a big deal. I do this every day. But that day, the idea of having to walk back all the way to my car to go get my badge, oh, I couldn't. And I did, crying the whole time. 46-year-old grown-ass woman crying because I had to walk back to my car to get my badge. And that wasn't it. I was just exhausted. What I wanted to do was throw my stuff and throw myself on the floor and throw a temper tantrum like a little child, which is what I wanted to do. But I knew better because I would have been Baker acted on the psychiatric unit if I did that. So I didn't do that. I cried and I laughed. You know, I mean, I wasn't laughing, but I was like, this is really interesting, you know, that I'm sitting here crying. I mean, this is just too much. Got my badge, walked back to work, you know, got into work, and, you know, and my friends who I'm really close to at work, you know, they see me every day. They see how happy and, you know, calm and grounded I am. And one look at me and they were like, are you okay? What's wrong with you? And that's all they had to say. And I would just start crying, you know, and I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't feel good. Anyways, and I think what was building up for me was, you know, I think it was a lot of stuff. You know, New Zealand didn't help. As a Muslim woman, you know, and as a therapist, and as just, you know, I'm around people with very different opinions than mine. Some of my closest friends are Republicans and Trump supporters, and I love them and they love me, and I can't necessarily cut them out of my life because we have a difference of opinions, and we managed to still have civil conversations. But it was just a lot of little stuff building up to it, and that was just one piece of it. And finally, what helped me was I took that day to have individual conversations with my friends, aka my therapists at work, and I was able to then sit and meditate and feel better. And then that night I went to bed and I finished the chicken wings, you know, because it was my last day to purge. And the next morning I woke up and it was as if the cloud has lifted. Like, it was just, I felt differently. I felt like my old self again. And that's because I did the work. I did the meditation, I did the grounding, I talked to someone, I reached out for help, because doing all the other stuff didn't help me. And I isolated. You know, I did all the stuff that everyone else does, but I didn't do the work that I teach everyone else to do and that I know better. And ultimately, that is what got me out of my hole. Now, I'm really fortunate because I was able to have this breakdown, recognize it, snap out of it, and move on within just a few days. I know there's many of you out there who are still stuck in it, who don't know how to get out of this. So this is why I'm sharing, because when I was sharing this with a few friends of mine, they were like, you had a nervous breakdown? Like, you are the most grounded person I know. And, you know, and I'm like, yeah, of course, everyone has nervous breakdowns. So I'm sharing this with the intention that it will help someone. It will help you recognize that it's normal to have mental breakdowns. It's normal to feel bad. It's normal to feel depressed. It's normal to feel anxiety. It's normal to feel sad. But do something positive about it, okay? If you recognize the pattern, recognize that you're in that hole, and then do something about it, right? So get help, talk to someone. If you're able to talk to loved ones, great. But a lot of times, talk to a professional. Go find a therapist to speak to. Pray about it. Eat healthy food. Do not medicate with substances. That is not the healthy, and it's a temporary fix. You know, guilty of doing it, but it's not the solution, is what I'm telling you. If you have to get on medication, get on medication. Trust me, my bottle of antidepressants is sitting in my medicine cabinet, because the day I feel like I am done, I need that, I'm going to get help. I'm going to start back up on antidepressants. No shame, no issues, because it's a chemical imbalance. It is what it is. And then I will also then talk to a therapist to get the help I need. So that's all, folks. You know, I hope this is helpful to someone. Love and light. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.